this. And Affordable Dentures proudly presents the Iceman, John Scully.
Woo! Thank you, Ozzy. I tell you what, guys, it is always a pleasure to just chat with one of the coolest guys in this business, the incomparable Iceman, John Scully. John, welcome to the show, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I tell you what, we need to do something to change. We're going to change that intro. I love the intro, and I love that who's who of boxing. It almost looks like a boxing hall of fame in your intro. It's amazing, man, the things that you've done and the things that you've seen in this business in your tenure within this brutal ass-beating business. But the music, I don't know if it fits you. But you're not an audiophile, are you?
No, I'm not. I've never been I like music, I like songs, but I've never been like a fan of anybody in particular. Like, how somebody would be like, "Oh, I love Van Halen," and they know every Van Halen song, right? I like a Van Halen song, Jump, right? That was their song, Jump.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that song, but I don't know anybody in the group. I have no idea. I think the guy's name is Eddie Van Halen, and I think David Lee Roth was in there for a while.
That's right.
That's it. That's all I know. I would never go to a concert because I know that probably the majority of their music I wouldn't even like. So I just like the individual songs.
I would be wasting my time if I said, "What do you prefer, Van Halen or Van Hagar?" You wouldn't even understand that question, would you?
I've never heard of the other guy. I don't know.
Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker. I can't drive 55. Yeah.
I don't know.
And there you have it, guys. So I need to come up, and if you guys can help me, what would be the perfect song for Iceman John Scully's new intro?
I'll tell you what it would be. And
all right, let's hear it.
I only remember 2 songs that I came out to in my life. In my whole career, I remember 2 songs. My pro debut, I came out to a song called "The Final Countdown." I don't know.
Europe. Yes, Europe.
Okay, I don't know who sang it. I just remember it was popular at the time, and it was like, okay, here he comes. The Final Countdown. And then, but the cool thing in 1990, when Vanilla Ice was at his peak, I came out to "Ice Ice Baby." And they went crazy for that one. That was pretty cool. I should have came out with that more often, but that's the only fight I never cared about. Like, I was at Foxwoods one time. I was fighting the main event at Foxwoods, and you're in the hallway right outside the door waiting. The crowd is on the other side of the door, and we're there, and I'm loosening up, and I'm like, and I'm saying to myself, man, I wonder what the holdup is. Let's go. And so finally, I'm like, hey, what's the holdup? What are we doing? They go, oh, they're getting your entrance music ready. And I'm like, are you crazy? Let's go. Like, forget the song. I'm not waiting for a song. I don't care about the song. We're actually waiting for a song. I said, nah. I said, let's go. I'm ready to go. And we went.
Oh my gosh. You know what? You would have been a joy to actually have back in the day, because honestly, fighters now, if you don't get their song absolutely right, or if it's not something that they prefer, they will let you have it. Their entire team will let you have it.
I remember I was with a fighter, and I'm like, all right, come on, man, let's go. And he said, wait, I gotta wait for my song. And I'm like, what? He goes, my song. They're about to play my song. I said, all right. But it's it's taking a while. I'm like, listen, man, let's go. Like, forget the song. The fact that it's even an issue with you tells me your mind is not in the right place. Like, we're not forget the song, and we went and we forgot the song.
You know what's amazing though, John? That I hate to say this, but you're fighters like you, they don't make those guys today.
Nah, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
Oh, don't say that.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Even at the amateur level now, and we'll talk about that in a little bit too, but even at the club level, everyone wants to act like a businessman. Floyd Mayweather They don't care about just getting in the ring and whooping that ass.
Do you know that at the amateur level, there are not just fighters, there are coaches. When there's an amateur show, they will call the guy doing the show and they will ask him, are you giving out belts? If
Oh
you're
my
not giving out belts, they won't come to your show. There are coaches on this planet who are conceivably normal, everyday human beings who are not insane and are have an IQ of at least 500 or whatever the scale is. I don't know. And they, I don't know what the good IQ is, 100, whatever. They will tell you, oh, you're not giving out belts? No, we're not coming. Like they care more about the belt than about the experience and having a fight. And I can remember as an amateur, even as a kid, young kid, going to fight. The trophy never crossed my mind that there was
Yeah.
even going to be a trophy there. It never crossed. It was cool to get after, but it was like if they told me, "Oh, you're not getting a trophy if you win," I go, "I don't care." Like, I mean, I'm not going to fight this guy because I don't get a trophy. That's insane. But that's an indication
Yeah.
where we're headed.
You know what? You're absolutely. We're already there, John. It seems, because let me tell you, I've got guys, in the amateurs and in the pros. And John, are you still there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here. You
Okay,
see me?
very
Yep.
good. Yeah, there you are. And so, yeah, in the club level, they want, how much money? Okay. Well, let me think about it. I'm going to ask my dad and I'm going to talk to him. And also, do you have any YouTube footage on this guy? And I'm like, dude, this is a 4-rounder.
Right.
This is a 4-rounder. Okay, we're putting you in a position. We're trying to nurture you as a ticket seller here in San Antonio, and we're going to put you in a position to do well. We believe in you. We're trying to nurture you, and we're trying to cultivate your skill set as well as you being an attraction here.
Right.
And you want to see footage on this guy?
Yeah.
Was James Toney ever worried about footage on another guy at the 4-round level?
Right. Yeah.
It's shocking. It's shocking,
Well, you
John.
go to the nationals. If you're a higher level amateur and you go to the nationals, like I went to the finals of the National Golden Gloves twice, meaning I had to fight 5 times, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
I never had the luxury of watching videotape of my guy,
That's
so
right.
I could prepare for him. You had to prepare on the fly.
Yep.
And I get it. If you could see some tape, that'd be cool. But yeah, I'm sure James Toney wasn't panicking if he didn't get video.
To say the least.
Yeah.
That guy, I mean, oh boy, what an all-time great.
Yeah.
And
sure.
just that attitude, like he could whoop anyone in the world on any given day.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think to a certain extent, fighters still have that bravado, the brimming with confidence, because you have to be that way to get in the ring.
Right.
But not to the extent exponentially like James Toney. And do you think maybe that's what's causing the lack of popularity of boxing in the American market, although it's been on fire as of late? And it looks like it will be this month later too. But do you think fans notice that as they watch the product unfold in the ring?
I think they're noticing a lot of things. I think we're slowly but surely regressing, right? And and a lot of anything, marketability is image. You're going to market something a certain way to draw a certain kind of fan, right? Back in the day, guys like Joe Louis, Jersey Joe Walker, Rocky Marciano, super respectful. They were super respectful of each other. They shook hands at the weigh-in, at
Oh,
the
yeah.
and yet they drew 80,000 people to Yankee Stadium. So you can't tell me that, calling each other names and swearing, does it, because back then they drew way more people to live events than they do now. Yeah, Muhammad Ali fought Ken Norton
That's
in Yankee
right.
Stadium. It was sold out.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
And Ali never swore in the pre-fight. Him and Ken did a publicity thing where they were chasing each other around center field. Guys wouldn't do that thing. Now, I love Oscar De La Hoya, great fighter and everything, but even him, he's at the press conferences, he's swearing. And the
Yep.
fighters are swearing like really hardcore, aggressive
Yeah.
swearing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't it, man. This isn't it at all. Like, this is
Yep.
wrong. And they don't see it. And now some of the bigger name fighters do it. So the younger guys are like, oh, it's okay. We can do it. We could talk, like thugs, like mean guys, like we hate the guy. And they literally, I watch press conferences now, and it's literally like it's two guys on the street in front of some of their friends about to fight, and the kind of things they're saying to each other. The average American fan that's not appealing at all. To
No.
the decent people, that's not appealing at all. And
Yeah.
you gotta play a role to a certain degree. People may say, "Oh, I'm just being me." Well, come on, maybe you is not appealing. How's that? You're not appealing as a human being. You are not appealing at all. You need to act, because you'll do better if you tone it down a little bit and act a little bit more like Muhammad Ali or somebody, because you are not cutting it. If you couldn't fight, nobody would ask you directions to McDonald's. Like they would never talk to you.
I couldn't agree more. And bravo, brother, because that is not stated enough, because these fighters don't get it. The press conference that we just had before the Canelo fight on Saturday from Vegas. Tank Davis.
It's embarrassing.
Martin. It is cringe, brother. It is embarrassing. And those guys are supposed to be
our representatives.
Yeah, two of our supposedly best ambassadors of this version of boxing. Yeah, and then you look across the entire world. You look at Inoue, how he conducts himself, and look at the media turnout. Look at the fanfare. That was an event. That was a spectacular event this morning. And congratulations to Inoue and his team. And congratulations to Luis Neri for giving it all he had, making a solid representation of himself, flooring Inoue in the first round. Boy, it seems to be a difference in culture, John. And it seems to be paying off for Inoue. The stoic, focused, disciplined, badass. Speak softly, carry a big stick in the ring.
You know what it is? It's an indication of society. Like Japan is way more respectful than the United States. Would, if he acted like Tank Davis and these guys, he would not be popular. The stands would not be filled over there. They're in reverse. They're the opposite of us. They respect him because of who he is and what he is. If he was a gangster and swearing, he wouldn't be popular in Japan. They would totally ignore him. So they're doing something right. We're not the leaders of the free world in every category. I can clearly tell you that much.
Well, I tell you what, that was an amazing event, and congratulations to Inoue. And John, is there anyone who can stop Inoue in and around 122 pounds? Oh, we can't hear you, sir. Let's see what's going on. Uh-oh. Looks like we're on mute. Uh-oh. Can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you for some reason. Guys, can you hear John out there? Or is he silenced as well? Let me just make sure it's not just me. Okay, we're having technical difficulties. My apologies, guys. Now, hold on. You can't. Okay, very good. No one can hear you, John. So maybe you should try getting out, jumping out, and coming back in the studio if that might work. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Guys, we apologize about that. But gosh, what an amazing morning it's been. What an amazing weekend it was for boxing. Iceman, can you hear me? Uh-oh, we still can't hear you, sir. Make sure your button is on mute in the studio. Yeah, I can't hear you. Let me refresh on my end real quick, okay? Just one moment. Okay. There we are. Uh-oh. Nope. Hold on. Let's try this. Can you hear me, sir? Oh, no. Still nothing. Let me look at your mic settings real quick. I apologize, guys, for this. Yeah, we're not getting any volume at all from Iceman Scully. That is a darn shame. We felt like we were just getting cooking. What do you guys have any ideas? Because I know Bruce right here in the studio. Welcome to the show, sir. He also does a show, and I think he uses the same software in studio. Do you have any recommendations? And he says, is Scully using AOL? Oh, geez. I really don't know what to do here. Do you want to just try again? Or maybe I'll tell you what, I'll stay on the air, reboot your phone or computer. Are you on your phone? Okay, restart your phone and try using the link again. That's probably what it is. All right, John, we'll wait for you, sir. Thank you, my man. Guys, so, well, I tell you what. Thank you, StreamYard, for doing this with the incomparable Iceman Scully. But guys, let's once again want to say hello to our dear friends in the chat. So far, it looks like it's my brother Bruce. Thank you so much for being here, my man. Also, my brother Outlaw. And I tell you what, it really pissed me off this morning, guys. While Ice is on rebooting his phone and trying to get back on, I can talk about this. It really pissed me off. I actually stayed up because main event start time is expected to be at 5 a.m. Central, where I am. Yeah, in what universe? I stayed up and I'm like, why are they taking so long? And I fell asleep. I was going to go live, and I'm like, I'll go live right before the main event starts. And I fell asleep during the Maloney fight. Oh, I was so upset. But nonetheless, we're here, and I didn't get to see it live. But yeah, apparently I missed out on some drama in the first round. But anyway, here, let's try it again, guys. John, can you hear me?
Hello.
Oh, Eureka. So there it is. We can hear the Iceman, John Scully. We were just saying hello to Outlaw. Thank you for supporting the Iceman on this day. Also, Hy-Vee. John, we truly appreciate all the options to help retired fighters. Your tweets have a lot of moral value. Yes, sir, man. He's very insightful. One of the more insightful men in this business who, and unlike a lot of people, and once again, we're talking about culture in the boxing community these days. Right. You're one of the few professionals that still really like to engage with fans, because fans have changed now, haven't they, over the past, since the advent of social media now, haven't they?
They're a little meaner, I think, than they. I appreciate the comment from the person watching, though. Thank you. But
thank you, Ivy.
You know what? You know what's funny? Like, it's weird. Like, I'm on the internet. I'm in the boxing game, but I don't really see myself like as anything, I'm just a guy on the internet. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's cool. Like it's honestly cool. It really, I can't lie. It's flattering. It's cool. It's kind of something I always wanted when I was a kid. Like, if somebody sees me in the chat room or they go, "Oh man, John Scully, I used to watch you fight. I'm a big fan." I say, "Wow, it's cool, man." But I'm just, they're like, "Wow, I can't believe you're on the message board." And I go, "Listen, man, I mean, I'm just like you. Like I'm just a boxing fan. I happen to be in the game. I appreciate that people know who I am. It's kind of cool, but I know enough famous people to know that we're all just the same. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like
there it is.
people think somebody who's really famous is like this perfect guy with this perfect life and he thinks perfect thoughts all the time, and that's definitely not true.
Yep.
But the internet, man, it's brought out some evil as well.
Oh boy.
Like
Yeah.
you get some people like I'm glad, honestly, after some of my worst fights, like fights where I lost, and for whatever reason I wasn't in shape, I mean I wasn't losing weight, whatever it was, I lost. I'm glad I don't have to read the internet the next 2 days,
Oh
having
boy.
people just trash me. I mean, like I'm glad I missed that era.
Yeah, you know what? That's oh boy, and some fighters, they just can't handle it.
Well,
But back
that's why they
like
don't go on the internet. And I'll tell you, I'll give an example. I've been on these when AOL was really hot. They had the
yeah.
message boards and they had the chat room. And the chat room, if
Yep.
you've ever been in the chat room, was awesome. And I mean, it was a daily thing, like nightly. And some of the biggest stars in the world used to go in there under fake names. And I know, I know them. I know who they are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't tell anybody. And I'll give you three right now: Floyd Mayweather, Zab Judah, Sugar Ray Leonard. They
Hmm.
were all in there, but they were under fake names. Not fake names, but names that didn't give you a clue to who they were. And I'll tell you a funny thing, and I'll tell you how the mentality of people is. Sugar Ray was in there, and he went in because we were having a discussion on why he didn't fight Hagler in a rematch. And I was giving my opinion. So I contacted Ray and I'm like, "Hey man, you should go in there, man. They're talking about, why you didn't fight a rematch." So he went in there under a screen name, and he's talking, and people didn't know it's him, obviously. And they're telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about and he's wrong. And he's like, John Scully's right. John Scully knows what he's talking about. And I'm like, man, I'm just watching and I can't tell these people, some of who I knew. And I'm like, man, you don't even realize you're telling Sugar Ray Leonard that he doesn't know what he's talking about. So, that's par for the course with the internet. You see somebody write something, like somebody could say, you know, Tommy Hearns is the greatest welterweight of all time. And you might agree, you might not, but it turns out this is just some guy who's like never been to a professional fight in his life. He
Yep.
watches it on TV sometimes, and he saw a clip of Tommy, fighting, and that's all he knows. He doesn't even know who Sugar Ray Robinson is. So you can't get too uptight about the internet, because you have to consider the source. And when we don't know who the source is, we have to assume it's just some guy who doesn't know any more than you do.
Oh boy. Yeah, you know what? Because we had that problem last night with 5-decade fight trainer James Gogi, who's training fighters out of Leon, Mexico, right?
Mhm.
Who helped cultivate Diego Corrales as an amateur in Sacramento. And this is a guy who many regard as having the best size in the business. In fact, promoters will actually hire this gentleman to scout amateur talent for them. And he is up there just giving his opinion, sharing all of his insight. And we have guys who are just kind of trolling him because he's not saying something that they want to hear. And they start trolling him in the chat room. Right here. Like our brother Bruce right here, who gives you the thumbs up. And they're saying, oh, you know what? Gogi's just a hater.
Oh, I know. James is my boy. I know James.
Yeah, Gogi.
Yeah, James, my boy. Yeah, he managed Lawrence Claybay when I trained
Lawrence Claybay. That's right.
Well, on that end, let me tell you something that I noticed. I'll go in the chat room back in the day or whatever, and everything will be fine. But I give an opinion that somebody doesn't like, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I saw you lose to Tim Littles on pay-per-view. You suck. Nobody cares about your opinion."
Geez.
And I go, wait a second. Let me get this straight. So because I lost the fight to the #1 contender on pay-per-view on the biggest fight of that year, and you were watching me, my opinion doesn't mean anything. But you have never had a fight in your life. You've been to 2 shows in your whole life, and you just have a Wi-Fi connection at your house. And that means I'm supposed to respect and listen to you? So because I lost the fight, my opinion doesn't mean anything? It's so bizarre. It's so insane what people think.
Yeah, guys, look, I remember the day when over 20 years ago, when I was not in this business and I was just a fan, when I remember seeing with my pops when I was a kid, going to see Chavez and Whitaker at the Alamo Dome. I was one of those 60,000 plus that filled the Alamo Dome. And I remember freaking out when I saw Don King barking, selling shirts. There's a promoter, one of the most famous gentlemen in the entire world. Obviously, arguably the best to have ever done it in terms of fan reception and the most iconic in boxing. And he's right there in front of my face. Yeah, I was so like starstruck and dumbfounded. I'm like, oh my gosh, what this is. And he looks right at me and says, hey, son, just for you and your beautiful family right here, I'm going to give you this free t-shirt if you buy 2 today. Just for you guys. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I look at my dad, and my dad's like, sure, that's amazing. That's Don King. And so, yeah, he takes our money and we're happy and we're so respectful. And I will never forget that day as long as I live. Fans don't have that reaction, and they're supposed to love boxing.
Right. That's the thing. Like, I'll tell you who's even worse is some boxing writers who they write about the sport repeatedly. And I'm like, and all I could think is, why are you even in this sport? Like, you hate fighters so much. You hate everybody in it. You're so disrespectful to the fighters. Why are you? It would be like, it's one thing, like if I review movies and I say, Al Pacino was a little off in this movie. I don't think the role was right for him. That's a little better than saying, he sucked.
Oh my gosh.
He looked like a mannequin. He can't even read his lines anymore. It's like, why would my hatred comes through in my words and on paper. Why are you even covering the sport if you disrespect fighters so easily? It's weird. It's weird to me.
Yeah, it's shocking, actually. It's shocking. And once again, so fast forward then from the Don King, the teen who actually saw Chavez Whitaker, right? And then I'm part of the beat. I'm working media for several different websites in a fight that Don was actually co-promoting in Corpus. And it had Chris Arreola. It was going to be a Showtime card, I think, and it was with Eric Molina, his fighter, right, from the Rio Grande Valley. And he said something like, no more wetbacks in the something like that. And I know what he meant. He was saying that, hey, Hispanics are running the show. This is great. This is great for boxing. Because Steven Espinoza was right there as well as Chris Arreola, Eric Molina in the main event. It was like, look at this. We've come such a long way. And everyone lit him up, the only one in the room, because I met him that day when I was just still a teen and still a kid. It was me. And I was like, guys, this is one of the all-time greats. You know what he meant. He meant no disrespect. And everyone just wanted to torch him. And the very next morning in the Corpus Christi Chronicle. It said Don King makes king-size gaff in Corpus.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is where we are today. And I was the only guy in the media, and I'm Hispanic. And I was defending Don King. That's why I'm like, guys, if you love boxing, and I know everyone in the extended family on this chat right now, you guys, or you're here because you're different. You're not one of those guys on the internet. So thank you. But we honestly need your help. Be the ambassador. Correct these morons. Love these fighters. Respect these fighters. Okay? Yep. That's it. You guys are ambassadors of the sport too. You've become that.
Right.
You have any final thoughts on that, John, before we get down to business, sir, and talk about the condition of your man, Arthur Beterbiev?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think that kind of leads to a bigger problem is the context. People can spin it, and that's why I have to see things for myself. When they'll tell me like, "Oh, did you hear what so and so said?" I said, "Man, let me see it for myself," because I've seen where the context and what they spun it as were two totally different things, and the fact is you're gonna say it and claim it based on how you feel about the person. Like if you want to make a person look bad, it's very easy. But in the same situation, you could make them look good, or you could make them look impartial, So I think sometimes people go out of their way to make something out of nothing. And it's, like that's what happens with the internet. Everybody, it used to be where you couldn't get heard unless you wrote for the New York Post. But now you have a Wi-Fi connection and your words are to be read by the entire world. So we got to, in this era, we need to take everything with a grain of salt, figure out who it is that we're talking to.
Yeah, guys, look, just because you have a boxing YouTube page and it has over 5,000 subscribers,
right,
it doesn't mean you know more than John Scully.
Or anybody. Right.
Or anyone else. Guys, we want to welcome you to, once again, we're speaking with the John Scully, the Iceman, and Anthony Manzano. Boy, he's on fire today. He's got some insight, very insightful stuff. John, do you think some of these fighters today are influenced by the music they listen to? And most hip hop and rap music, there's a lot of cursing and a lot of false bravado, all of that. And that's very insightful. Your thoughts, John?
10,000,000% accurate, of course. Like they act like rappers act in music videos and movies. You see guys like, what's embarrassing? What's one of the most embarrassing things known to man is when you see a guy like 20 years old or so, and he's on Instagram or Facebook, and he's holding up money like a fan of money.
Oh gosh!
And I'm going, all right, I saw that album cover too. I saw Mayweather do it, but Mayweather's doing it with $200,000. You're doing it with, I swear, one time this guy did it, and I'm looking, and at first glance, it's like, oh man, look at all the money. And I looked at it and I go, man, most of them are $1 bills. It was like he had like $27 spread out in a fan. And I'm going, come on, man. Like I could understand a young kid imitating somebody, right? But grown men and just talking like that. And what's funny is they imitate guys they see on TV that act thuggish. But then when you see the guy in real life, he's nowhere near a thug. It's just an
very
image
humble, very respectful.
Albums,
Yep.
And
that's it.
Yeah, and it's it's almost like it's embarrassing, it's comical, but it's stupid as well.
Oh boy, yeah. Welcome to the Western civilization, sir. But I tell you what, as long as there are guys like John Scully and James Gogi and Ronnie Shields and all the great guys in this business leading the charge, guys, take their lead. These are great, great men who have accomplished so much in this business. Yep. And so it's a real joy. We have them. Finally, they're accessible. Be respectful. And that's why I love our extended family here in the chat. Yeah, they're real boxing fans, guys, and I'm very proud of our extended family. And Anthony also goes on to say this. John, if social media was around back when Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Roberto Duran were fighting, how do you think those fighters would have dealt with all the negativity on the internet?
You know what? Muhammad Ali would have more followers than anyone on earth. I'll tell you that much. Than anyone. There's no question. But I assure you, Muhammad Ali would not act a fool because he had internet access. Like he had the grip of the world. Like he had the view of the world on him at all times.
Yep.
How many times have you heard Muhammad Ali even swear? How many times have you heard Muhammad Ali cuss?
Never.
I'll tell you another thing. Have you ever seen Muhammad Ali with jewelry on? Have you ever seen Muhammad Ali with a necklace on?
No.
With a big gold ring? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen him with flashy clothes? No. And you know why? Because he didn't need it. He was unbelievably popular and great and awesome. He didn't need any of that. He proves that you can do it without it. Whereas other guys, there's so many famous people now that if you took away their jewelry and their clothes, those type of clothes and the fancy cars, they'd just be Joe from Main Street. Like nobody would care about them at all. They have nothing to say, nothing to portray, nothing to convey, nothing to inspire you, really. Muhammad Ali was famous for being plain. You watch how he dressed. When he was, in everyday life, he wore a button-up shirt and a pair of slacks, and that was it.
Yep.
And he was the most admired, emulated guy on earth. He's the prototype. He's the proof that you can do it without all of that. He was above all of that.
Yep, he sure was, guys. And at one point in time, the only person in this world that was more famous or just as iconic, I should say, as Muhammad Ali was the Pope, John Paul III. Other than that, he was the most famous person on the earth at one time.
Well, I'm going to tell you something I was telling a guy the other day. Think about it. Let your listeners think of this. Contemplate what I'm going to say. Years ago, there was a rumor that Muhammad Ali was broke. He had no money. He was tapped out. Muhammad Ali was not bragging at all. He was just saying, he said, listen, I will never be broke. He said, if I have money trouble, if I was that desperate, I could put out a statement and I say, I want every Muslim in the world to send me just $1. He said, I would have $10 million in a couple days. He said, I'll be set for life in 2 days if I wanted to. He goes, I will never be hungry. And I said, man, who else could say that? Like, who else could say that? That, I mean, honestly, if I put on my Facebook, hey guys, I like you guys. We've been interacting all this time, but I'm broke and I need money. I'm not going to be moving into the penthouse anytime soon with the money I get. But Muhammad Ali could say, just send me $1. And here's what's awesome. If Muhammad Ali said that, I want every just Muslims, send me $1. There's Muslims that would send him $20,000. There's Muslims that may send him $1 million. They would certainly send $10. Very few would actually just send $1. So
indeed,
that's power. When one of these guys today has that kind of power, then they can come brag about it. But until then, relax with your Facebook and your Instagram, videos talking about how famous you are.
Oh boy. Yeah. And we want to thank Rasheem Brown for actually joining us. And no, it wasn't Adonis. That was at 75 for his title. He's referring to Andre Ward. And were you training him at that time? I don't know if you were training him at that time.
Yeah, I
with
was,
the Andre Ward. Okay.
I was, and I'll tell you, I didn't know. I had no input into that fight in terms of it happening. Like I didn't know it was happening until after they made it. I actually found out when Chad, if you watch I've never watched the tape, but I would imagine you could see it. Like when Chad beat Hopkins
Yep.
in the ring, they did, the post-fight interview, and I was standing behind Chad, so I don't know if I was in view of the camera, but the announcer, I think it was Max Kellerman, but whoever it was, they said, "What's next?" And Chad said, "Andre Ward, 168."
Oh
And
boy.
I immediately turned to the guy next to me. I forget who it was. And I was like, "What did he say?" I said, "What did he just say?" Like, I was shocked. And he obviously shouldn't have done it. I instinctively, I was like, that's it. We can't go down to 168. But I asked his strength guy, and I say, hey, what do you think about this? And he goes, "Oh no, it'd be no problem." And he told me all the technical reasons, that nutritionists know why it would be no problem. And I said, "Wow, okay, sounds good." But it did not go like that. Like, making the weight was brutal on Chad for that fight. Not to take anything away from Andre Ward's victory, but it was really, really, really difficult. Right up to literally the last minute, like before he got on the scale, right up to that moment, it was difficult.
If John, if my memory serves me correctly,
Yeah.
no one wanted to even talk to him, not even his wife, the week of the fight.
No one what?
No one even wanted to talk to him.
Well,
not
yeah,
even the week of the fight.
Well, they get, fighters get pretty miserable when they're having. Well, here I didn't realize how bad it was because I stay out of it. I let him and his nutrition guy deal with it, and I was staying in a separate house, so I wasn't with him every minute. When we went to make weight the night before to see what his weight was, he came in. He was still, after 9 weeks, he was 7 pounds over. He was 175, and I'm like, man, 7 more pounds. What is this? And so he did what he did to make the weight. He made the weight that night. He made 68. So I said, okay, what's he gonna eat now? And the strength coach said, oh no, he can't eat till tomorrow, till he gets on the scale. And Chad lost it. Chad said, man, I haven't eaten in 3 days. What are you talking about? And so we worked it out and we gave him something, but I didn't even realize he hadn't eaten in a few days. So it was truly a nightmare to make that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Not a fun time, guys. And so, yeah, Ryan Garcia, there's a big myth right now going on that, and he's getting a lot of scrutiny right now. And there's a lot of, and I spoke with Henry, his dad, and it's a myth, guys. Mayweather didn't tell him to come in 3 pounds over. He couldn't make the weight because fighters are in misery during the week when they're trying to make that kind of weight. But this is a different time now, isn't it? Ryan Garcia, he could get away with not making weight. Chad, not so easy.
Right.
Now, why are we seeing this on a regular basis today, John? Fighters missing weight, not really even caring.
Because guys, there's 2 reasons. One, because guys don't care about championships anymore. Like the championships, the love and the honor that people had for being a world champion is gone. It's not the same because there's so many belts. It's so diluted that they grow up like, I'll get another belt. It's no problem. Whereas some guys are like, man, I hope I get another shot. Back in the 1950s, I hope I get a shot at the title. These guys are like, oh, I'll definitely get another belt. I'm not worried about it. But the other thing is they're making so much money where, I mean, think about this. Think about this mentality. A guy like Scott Pemberton, if you remember Scott Pemberton.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Pemberton was a very exciting fighter. Him and his fight with Omar Shika was as good as Ward and Gaddy was. It was a tremendous fight.
Yep.
Until he fought Jeff Lacey, he had never made more than, I think, $12,000 in his whole career, including for the Shika fights. He made $100,000 to fight Jeff Lacey. Was the biggest payday of his career. He would have. I know Scott very well. Scott would kill someone for $100,000. Like he was over the moon making $100,000. Now these guys don't make weight and they go, oh, I'll just pay $1.5 million fine. It's no big deal. So they're making so much money that they go, like, if you threaten a guy with making weight or you got to pay money, they're gonna make the weight. Now they're like
Mhm.
$1.5 million. I'm making 20 million. I'll give you $1.5 million. You can have it. So, you can't threaten these guys anymore. They don't have the honor of winning a championship anymore, and they don't have the desire to make the weight because they're not worried.
Oh boy. Yeah, and you're right. The titles don't weigh as much as they used to.
Right.
And look, this is the weakest I've ever seen sanctioning organizations. The WBC, they mandate fights in every convention. How
Right.
many of those do we see come to fruition
Listen,
today?
the promoters have seized control from the sanction bodies. The
Mm.
fighters, the top fighters, have seized control. The top fighters tell them what we're doing. This is what we're gonna do. This is how it's gonna go. And here's your sanction fee. And have a good day. Hmm.
It's shocking. It's
Yeah.
shocking, John. But I
Yeah.
tell you what, guys. Well, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir, as you were.
Oh no,
Oh,
I was just gonna say, if I was the head of the boxing, if I was the
yeah.
head, the sanction guy, because I've never been greedy. I don't want, if I like me ever having $20 million is unrealistic, so I don't worry about having it because I know I'm not going to have it. So, but these guys are, they want to get it. They want to get it. I just want to be comfortable, right? So if I ran boxing, I would say, listen, this is who you're fighting. And if you don't, you get stripped. That's it. Period. I don't care what you say. You got to make the weight. You have to, you got to follow my rules. And nobody's following the rules. There's no, that's a, like, it's almost like a joke to have rules because the top fighters certainly have proven they don't have to follow the rules.
That's just terrible. Just terrible. Guys,
Yep.
we need structure in this business if you want to consider it still a sport. What happened to the sport of it? People
Right.
fighting for the trinkets, for the belts. Now it's referred to as a trinket. And everyone wants that bag.
Let me tell you something. I'll tell you a quick story. I don't know if I ever told you this before, but I'm sure your fans have not really heard this before. And this is the epitome of what it is. When Archie Moore fought Rocky Marciano, he moved up from light heavy to fight the champ, the one champ, Rocky Marciano. Marciano's a big puncher, especially compared to Moore, a light heavyweight. So Moore, it starts going downhill. Moore's getting beat up towards the end. And the referee comes and he wants to stop the fight after I believe the 8th round. Archie told him, and Archie had a way of talking, and he said, listen, he said, I'm a champion too. You have to let me go out like one. And that meant let me get killed. And they let the fight go, and Rocky stopped him in the next round, and he went out. He went out like a champion. And back then, that's how it was done. And now guys quit on the stool. I'll bet you more guys have quit on the stool in the last 20 years than in the previous 50 because they, it took a lot back in the day for a guy. I mean, Joe Frazier had to go through 14 rounds in 110-degree heat in Manila before Futch finally told him to stop.
Wow. What a different time. And you know what? That's what made us boxing fans. That's what made us fall in love with the sport.
Right.
Watching that with my dad when I was just a kid and seeing these gentlemen just go through superhuman feats.
Right.
Now, and that's what made No Mas back in the day such an anomaly. That was strange. I had never seen that ever.
Right.
And now
with Duran, I think it was like purely psychological. He didn't quit because he was hurt. You know what I mean? He didn't get hurt because he was getting beat up. He got hurt because he quit because he was embarrassed, which is bad. You can't quit, but he just couldn't take it. And I'm sure 60 seconds after he did it, he regretted it till this day. Like he wishes he could have won, but on the spur of the moment, he just said, you could see he was just like, screw it. You don't want to fight. You don't
Yeah.
want to. You're going to box me. You're going to move. Screw it. Because the first fight, Ray obliged him. Ray went toe to toe with him, and and Roberto was loving it. He was loving the action.
Oh
and
yeah.
and Ray, if there's ever any example where a guy got into another guy's head and just dominated him, that was the one. And I'm positive Duran regrets it, because he didn't have to. He felt like he was getting embarrassed, and he it was almost like, oh, you want to embarrass me? Well, I'll just quit. Then you can't embarrass me anymore. Like he justified it in his mind, and I could understand it as a fighter. It's like, oh, you wanna, when I was losing weight for a fight one time, really bad, and it was like the fourth fight in a row where I felt horrible. I almost said, you know what? Kind of like Duran. Like I said, I'm not gonna let boxing beat me. I'm gonna play defense, and I'm gonna pick my shots. I'm not gonna go all out because I'm gonna open myself up, and I'm not ready because I can't make weight. And I imploded. I self imploded, because I just couldn't. I was so sick of it. And Duran did that in one fight where Ray was just embarrassing him with the boxing and the movement, and he just had enough of it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, that was such an anomaly back then. And now, yeah, we see guys quit all the time.
Right.
Yeah. But I will say this, though. Let's address the pink elephant in the room. Brother Ram, thank you for joining us, and thank you for supporting John Scully and the Zegos. Salute. I am so bummed that this fight is canceled. And obviously, he's referring to Arthur versus Dimitri Bivol. And they're going to find another opponent for June 1st. But a lot of what's been talked about in the boxing community, as well as on social media, is that this may spell the end. Is this the end for Arthur Beterbiev? Has age finally caught up with him? Because it's a torn meniscus. That's a serious injury, and it takes time to heal. Will we see Arthur return to the ring, sir?
Yes. Well, actually, to be honest with you, when I first heard about this, the meniscus, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to take a year to heal. This is horrible. But I know two guys who had it done. One of whom who texted me literally like 5 minutes after I found out the fight was off. He found out. He texted me. He had it, and he said, "Nah." He said Arthur's going to fight by the end of the year. He'll recover. This is apparently something that people recover rather quickly from. It's not as bad as an ACL or things like that. So, Arthur, as I've always said, he trains unbelievably hard. And I guess this is, proving that, because he gets injured because of how much strain he puts on his body and what he does to himself to get ready for fights. But knowing him, that's not going to change. He's going to continue to do what he does. And all indications are that the fight is going to be probably, I would say, October, November, December.
Wow, that is great news, John. That is great news.
That's what I'm hearing from our team.
Because everyone, and if you notice, you look through a timeline, even back when he was competing on PBC cards, this seems to be, and like you said, that's probably a product of his meticulous training methods.
Right.
He seems almost to be injury prone. And I think that's one of the things that's kept him from being recognized as one of the best pound for pound fighters in boxing today, because out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
You're not on the big stage and you don't compete as frequently. Yeah, they're going to forget about you. Right. He just suffered an injury last year that kept him from competing with Callum Smith earlier. Yeah. Right. So are you concerned about this moving forward, John?
No, I mean, when the injury with Callum Smith was a infected tooth. So
okay, very
that
good.
Could be anybody,
Yeah.
Arthur's he's 38, 39 years old, but he's like a young guy in that, I mean, he's able to train. He's still able to train harder than anybody I've ever seen. Like what he can do, the output that he can put out, and the weights he can lift, and the exercises he can do. he's a phenomenon. And even at lesser, even if he eased off, he'd still be in better shape than everybody else. One thing about him, the conditioning is going to be there, and he pays the price, and he's going to continue to pay the price because that's who he is. And it's funny, like he's 38, 39, but like I told him right after his fight with Callum Smith, I said, like a couple days later, I said, Arthur, that's the best you ever looked. All things good, that's the best performance of your career. Not many people at 38, 39 years old are going to be able to put out the best performance of their career. So he's a different guy. His mentality is not to be deterred. Things don't deter him. If he's walking and there's a 50-foot high bank of snow, he's going over it or through it, but he's going to be on the other side in a little while. So that's just him.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, we wish you guys the best of luck. We know we're running out of time, but we do want to get your thoughts on this past Saturday night's fight action. Canelo Alvarez didn't seemingly turn back the clock, but reminded everyone what a great fighter looks like against a hungry young lion in Jaime Munguia. All credit to Jaime. Well, he brought it until he was reminded of that beautiful, creative combination punch into the body and head.
Right.
How difficult is that to anticipate when you're on the opposite side of something like that, John, and you've got that kind of creative arsenal? What were your thoughts when you saw him floor Jaime Munguia in the 4th round, and then you saw the result after that? Jaime turned into somewhat of a more tentative fighter.
Right.
And that seemed to change the projection of the fight. What are your thoughts on Canelo moving forward? In your mind, do you see slippage? How long can he be that reigning undisputed champion at 68?
Right. I don't see a lot of slippage, to be honest. He's still obviously very good. I mean, he fought a young lion. He fought a lion, and he's right there. He won. He won the fight. I think the thing about a guy like him is you watch the fight, and you go, "Oh, what a beautiful combination that was awesome," right? You got to realize when you're in there with him and anybody like him, like you're in there with Roy Jones, right? You don't know what he threw. When he throws 5-6 punches at you, you couldn't tell somebody what he threw because your eyes are shut and you're feeling, you couldn't accurately tell, oh, he threw a right hand, a left hook, a left uppercut, or you don't know what the combination was. It's like having somebody throw a bunch of snowballs at you at the same time from a different you're like, I don't know, one couple came over from there and one was over there. When it's over. It's difficult. It's difficult. That's where human instincts take over. And it's not like you're slowing it down and going, okay, I'm gonna slip the jab and I'm gonna block the right hand and I'm gonna duck the left hook. It just happens. Your instincts take over and you do it. You don't even know how you do it. And lucky for human beings and boxers, we have these things. Otherwise, at that rate of speed and accuracy, guys would get hit flush hundreds of times in a fight. Imagine Roy Jones, if you didn't have that, he'd be bombing you repeatedly with 5 punches in a row. But you have human instincts that allow you to block some of the shots and deflect a couple of them and duck a couple of them. It's a beautiful thing. But Canelo, I think I always go by this. This is how I judge fighters. If you never saw Canelo in your life and you didn't know who he was and you saw him fight the other night, what would you think? You'd think, wow, this guy's really good. Man, I don't know who he is, but this guy can fight. And that's good. So people could say he slipped, but even him slipping, if he is, he's still better than almost everybody.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He really showed that he still has a lot left in the tank. So, $1 million question here, John, in your professional opinion, and what you've seen the business of boxing turn into over the last 30 years, does Canelo Alvarez fight David Benavidez ever?
I would think he has to, even if he didn't want to. which I don't know. I never would have said that about him. I never in a million years would have said, oh, he doesn't want to fight the guy. But unless he's playing some kind of scam like Ryan Garcia said he played, I'm listening to his interviews and I'm like, man, if he's trying to convince me he doesn't want to fight the guy, he's doing a good job of it because he really doesn't fight this kid. But as a fighter and as a man, I just don't think he would let it go. I don't think the people around him, if he was my friend and we were talking and hanging out, I said, listen, man, Canelo, you know you got to fight the guy, right? Like, you can't let this go. This can't go. This is not going to go away. Because if you don't fight him, it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. Somebody's always going to bring this up. And here's the worst part. You're going to bring it up mentally. When you lay in bed at night and you think about your career, you're going to say, I didn't fight the guy and I have to face why. Why didn't I fight this guy? I have to be honest with myself. So I think he's got to fight him. And Canelo winning is not going to be a shock to me. I think Benavidez is very good and all of that. But just like they've done with so many other fighters over the years, I don't want to call out names, but there's been guys who were very good and everybody jumped on a bandwagon and this guy's unbeatable and he's awesome and he's going to do this and he's going to do that. And then they get slaughtered by somebody, like Benavidez is good, but relax. He doesn't have Roy Jones skills. He doesn't have James Toney defense. I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit here.
Yeah, you know what? And last thing I'm going to leave you with, and you know what? That was an article right there. So guys, look for that in the upcoming week. John's comments, we're going to put it in article form because it's worthy of that. And a lot of what John stated on this program today is article worthy, guys. And we want to thank John for all of his insight. And no one tells stories like you do, brother. Honestly, I can tell you quite honestly, since my mentor, the late, great Don Warwick-Chargan, I haven't heard this kind of awesome, amazing storytelling since him. And that is high praise, sir. So thank you.
That's saying something. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, there was no one like the Don in telling a great story. It was he had a room captivated whenever he addressed people. And so we had this discussion with my man Gogi last night. Yeah. And a lot of people, since Canelo's impressive victory over a big Jaime Munguia, who you look like a cruiserweight compared to Canelo that night. Right. And Canelo just took him to school. And it was a very competitive fight, but it was outstanding. A lot of people are posing this question. Is he the greatest super middleweight fighter ever? And not like Roy Jones or Tony going, because it's a relatively new division. And it wasn't and we're not considering guys it was just a pit stop on their way to light heavyweight, right? Right. We're talking about guys who are like Andre Ward, Joe Calzaghe. Because let's just face it, would anyone favor Canelo over Roy Jones or James Toney in their prime?
No chance.
No chance. So let's take those two legends, put them over here. And outside of that, is he the greatest super middleweight of all time? Is he? How would he fare head-to-head against Joe Calzaghe or Andre Ward?
I was going to say Calzaghe and Andre Ward. I mean, they're up there, and and both of them beat some very good competition. I mean, he's up there, but I can't say better. I can't say he's better when you consider the competition. Like, he's beaten good competition, but those guys, Ward beat Kessler and all those guys. I think, I can't put him over them, in a head-to-head matchup. I wouldn't. Andre Ward was, something special. And Calzaghe, I mean, Calzaghe undefeated. I mean, Calzaghe figured it out. He people could look and say, "Oh, I could do this, I could do that." Yeah, but a lot of good guys didn't. Jeff Lacey, when Jeff Lacey fought Calzaghe, myself
undefeated,
we all thought he
Mhm.
was going to smash Joe. Like, you
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, and he put on a, you know, all-time great, phenomenal performance in that fight.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, we gotta give those guys their due for sure.
How many dominations over an undefeated, big punching, heavily favored champion have
Right.
you ever seen in your life? Like, that was a special performance, John.
Yeah. Oh no, it was the, you know, it was like a one-sided fight against a guy that, you know, wasn't supposed to be beaten one-sidedly, you know, at that time.
Yeah, a lot of people were calling him Little Mike Tyson.
Right, for sure. For
Oh
sure.
boy, and that was a clinic. One of the most impressive performances I'll probably ever see in my lifetime.
Right.
In a supposed evenly matched unification bout.
Right. Yep.
But I'll tell you what, we've already kept you over an hour. We're 67 minutes in. So, John, we're at the end of the line. Do you have any parting shots for our listening audience today, sir?
Well, I would just like to say, if you're not busy, you know, the Beterbiev fight is off, but I have Stephen Butler fighting his third consecutive fight on ESPN on June 6th, and the main event. So you know, he's a middleweight. His record's like 32-4, 33-4, big punching kid. You know, good fighter. And you know, I'll be in the corner working with him. I'm training him right now. So that's our next event, June 6th, ESPN Plus.
And there it is, guys. There it is. And we want to thank John for all of his time, being so generous with it. And once again, I'll tell you what, no one today tells a story quite like the Iceman. We want to thank you so much for all of your time, brother. And guys, if you missed any part of the show, just go ahead and hit rewind. And guys, be sure to hit the like button. And gosh, you know what? It just flies by, John, when you're on the air.
Yes, sir.
It's amazing. And that's a testament to you, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of our Monday morning. God bless you. And guys, once again, be sure to hit that like button on behalf of the great Iceman, John Scully. I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to War Week Boxing. Have a great day, everybody. Prince of Darkness, and Affordable Dentures proudly presents the Iceman, John Scully.